Hey, Shelley, how are you?
Hey Ryan, how are you?
I'm very good to see you. Latara's been doing a tremendous job all day, holding down the MC spot. Really, really proud of what she's been able to deliver. And it's always great seeing my old friend. It's been years. I've seen you since pre-COVID, so this is a good time to reconnect.
I just saw your brother.
I heard he was probably in a leather jacket. He always is. So
He was surrounded by a lot of women.
he was
He
a lot
was
of very
holding his
smart women.
own.
Yeah, it's very smart women that are talking about the metaverse. We talk about a little later, but yeah, very excited to see what you guys are doing in the Web3 space. It's a lot of really cool things to talk about today, and I want to jump right in, and we have a limited amount of time, but I would love to tell anyone that's not aware of Shelley, who's a powerhouse. She founded Female Quotient 7 years ago. Now the world was very different then. 2 years of COVID, how we changed our work habits, our virtual, our remote work. Throughout all that disruption, how has the Female Quotient's mission evolved or stayed the same?
Wow. You know what? We've evolved a lot. I hope we're always evolving. We should never be staying the same. Status quo is never acceptable, especially in the world of women. I hope we're always progressing. But, during the pre-pandemic, we probably had about 50 to 60 pop-up lounges at big industry conferences. Then pandemic hit and physical lounges, of course, in real life stopped. And, you got to always pivot. And so we started hosting virtual lounges, and Zoom became sort of our first name. And so, we probably had about 700 plus conversations. And it was really quite remarkable because who knew what was going to happen? But it was a blessing in disguise because our community evolved. We had quite a large global community, and we started having conversations with women in over 100 countries. And what was incredible was we listened to hear and started understanding more and more what women wanted and needed. And we probably are the biggest experts understanding what coming back from the pandemic more than ever before, what women want coming out of the pandemic for the future of work and the future of the workplace in particular. And so our global community is quite enormous. So I think that has been probably the greatest gift that we have, being the equality whisperer and not so whisper. We're pretty loud, giving advice to CEOs of how to really come back to turn the great resignation to the great retention.
Well,
so
I love that.
That's been pretty amazing for us.
100%. And you are a very busy person. You do a lot of really great stuff. Beyond Female Quotient, you're also a co-founder of See Her with the ANA, which pre-COVID, that was where we always go see the biggest names and CMOs and big events happening at Cannes and other different places. What drove you to found that? Like, why? What about See Her was a great another extension for equality among the sexes?
Well, thanks. So when you think about the Female Quotient, it's all about helping, Fortune 500 companies close the gaps inside of their organizations. And See Her is really about outside in. How do we create the accurate, realistic portrayal of girls and women in media and entertainment? And so if you could see her, you could be her. It's all about those role models and the, how do we get Fortune 500 advertisers to create that representation? And it really started at the White House with Megan Smith, the former chief technology officer of the White House. And we were sitting around, Gail Tifford and Patty Kerr, and talking about what can we do. And we came up with this idea, See Her. And the best way to bring that to life was to bring it to the ANA, the Association of National Advertisers. And we brought it to Bob Leodes, and within 1 second, he's like, yep, I got this. And when you get advertisers who represent the biggest, largest representation of media dollars, and get advertisers to bring this into advertising, which is where media dollars are spent, that's where change really happens. The power of collaboration, pocket into the power of the purse. And when you think about 85% of purchase decisions made by women, for the most part, that's where change really happens. And it was pretty instantaneous. And so we created a measure called GEM, the Gender Equality Measure. And if you measure what matters, your advertising, it makes a big difference. And that's what happened just 5 years ago. And now every major advertiser is testing their advertising with the GEM score. Historically, we've used purchase interest, to measure purchase intent and likability and persuasion and relevance. And now we can measure, equality. And it's gone a long way. So if you could see her, you could be her. And that's what happened.
It's the best of both worlds. It's doing right, but also using data. I'm a big data nerd. We are in AI technology ourselves. So the fact you guys were able to actually create a score, a scientific method to figure out how to align those two, kudos to you. And I've been on, actually, I think with IRI on stage with you guys one time, and literally like that was, the big aha moment, the reveal. And brands, need to validate why, what they're spending their dollars on. And you guys just created the kind of you created the standard in this part of the world.
Well, we say doing good is doing well, and you can do both. And we see a direct correlation between gender equality and purchase intent and an actual sales data. When you talk about IRI, they've shown case studies that it does make a difference. And so, we want to see more sales, and that's what happens.
100%. Well, so let's take a segue. So everyone knows that gender equality is clearly still an issue. How does the female quotient illuminate the inequity while simultaneously still celebrating the gains of women? Kind of dichotomy of like, there's issues, but look at all the amazing things that are happening. How do you guys kind of square that edge?
Well, I mean, first of all, we shouldn't even really be talking about it. And I think that we are coming a long way. We've come a long way. I mean, why should it even still be a conversation? I think that's really the challenge. And I think the most important thing is, it's not that things have been wrong. So we're not righting wrong. It's just that we're getting into a modern day and age. And I always say the rules of the workplace were written over 100 years ago by men, for men, when women just weren't in the workplace. But now it's time to get rid of the junk in the trunk and just put some new rules of the road in place and ask some new questions and start. It's really not that complicated. If we actually measure what matters and understand that women in general are making 80 cents on the dollar, and Black women 64 cents on the dollar, and Latinas 53 cents on the dollar. If we actually know this, and you can actually see within your own organizations that there is an inequity, and you want to do the right thing, and you're conscious of it, then close the gap. It's not complicated. You just have to be willing to pay more, right? I mean, it's just not very complicated. And what really bothers me is when we say it's unconscious bias. If you use the word unconscious, you're conscious. So now it's a choice. Do you want to do something or not? The complicated part is you have to retrofit, because you can either close the door of inequity and open the new one of equality and start today with your new hires. But then you're going to have people saying, but hello, what about me? I'm already working for you, so you got to back pay me. And every time you buy a new company, you got to, keep catching up, and it's going to cost you some money. Ouch, that's going to hurt. So there's always like excuses. So do you want to make the excuses or not, right? And then when you think about policies, caregiving, it's not that simple, but maybe it is simpler than you think if you want to make those choices. And then when you think about caregiving is still predominantly a female issue, but there's plenty of countries like the Nordic countries that are doing a pretty good job. So we actually can learn from them. And if we have mandatory parental leave so that the responsibility is not still on the female, and men take equal responsibility, and by the way, it starts in home, at the home, so that we can have more equality in the workplace, that goes a long way, right? So, and our girlfriend Eve Rotsky has a whole bunch of great solutions, and so does Reshma. So there's solutions for change. You just got to open your mind and be willing to embrace them, not too complicated. And then with flexibility, there was some conversation about that. We can't just say, oh, let's do 4-day work weeks or 3-2 schedules and make that elective, because we know who's going to take it, which is going to be women. And if women elect to take it, it's going to become the golf game again, because guess who's going to go to the office? It's going to be the men. Guess who's going to be seen and heard? It's going to be the men. That's going to become a problem. So we need some more predictive flexibility. What we put in place needs to be for everyone and not just for those that opt in, or else it's going to create the bias barriers again. So we need to be thoughtful about the choices that we make.
So much to unpack there. I think probably a whole other session for that.
Right.
I think of everything as a proxy. I'm curious. You mentioned like the Nordic countries. Is that where are the Nordic countries the best kind of proxy for us to kind of aspire to kind of get them keep raising the bar? Or do you have is there any other places that people should be looking at?
There's different countries doing different things well. Nordic countries doing really well in caregiving, but surprising, Rwanda, you know what number they are? Inequality, according to the World Economic Forum?
I don't know.
Number 6.
Wow.
Why? Because President Kagame puts a lot of women in government. So that pushes them up. So different countries for different reasons. Iceland, number 1, 6 years in a row. So, I mean, different because of education. So
Sure.
Every country has different things that pushes them up the list. So, there's different things that work for different reasons.
Well, it's a kind of my next thing I want to talk about is mentorship, something near and dear to my heart. And this is something where you can mentor someone to hopefully on a country level, it'll be amazing, because obviously maybe that's something happening in the Nordic places. But for me, I was honored to be invited to be on the board of the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America, all about mentorship. Yes, thank you.
Shout out to you also, Marva. Marva's big in Big Brother, Big Sister too. There's a big gala coming up.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, the structure there, the people there, artists, the CEO, everyone has just been amazing. I personally was a little from 8 to 38. I had a big, unfortunately, essentially a member of our family at this point. He passed from stage 4 cancer, but he was there for every moment of my personal and professional life, and really, made me the man I am and the person I am today. I wanted, and thank you. And Clayton was the reason why I wanted to find a way to scale. I can't be big right now with my current company, but I can find ways to help other places across the organization. But you wrote an amazing article in Forbes called "Mentorship: The Gift That Keeps on Giving." Can you talk about that and some of the examples you gave? Because I think that's a great proxy for how you can lift up, all professionals.
Gosh, Ryan, you're such a good interviewer. You know so many things. So impressive. We got to go on the road together, a little road show.
Thank you, Shelley. I appreciate it.
I really, mentorship does keep on giving, because I think that, I call it mentorship in the moment. And I think that it's not just about mentorship from top down or bottom up. It's about, mentorship all around. And I think that advice comes from bits and bytes of people from, every walks of life. And I think if you are curious and a learner, you learn from so many different people. And I think that we should always be learning from everyone. And that's why in our lounges, I never put we never wear badges. I don't want anyone to talk to someone because you are so-and-so with a so-and-so title from this company. I want people to discover people and learn. I think you learn from everyone you meet. Spend 3 minutes with someone and you are going to learn something. And that is so important. I learn from younger people, from different cultures, from different people. And when I travel all over the world, I don't care about what I see around. I love to talk to people and learn from people. And I love that. And I have time for everybody that reaches out to me. And I will always make time for anybody that reaches out to me. And that's why I love teaching, because I love learning from students all over the world. And so to me, it's mentorship in the moment. And that is, to me, what life is all about, is listening, learning, sharing. And that's the best life lessons that you could possibly get. And I don't think it comes from a textbook. I think the best advice comes from people who have been there, done that. And, it's not one mentor, it's many. And that to me is how you dimensionalize, who you are. And that's how you get so smart, by giving, by getting, by listening, by learning, by sharing. I love that.
Amazing. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint one mentor. So many different people have taught you about, I'm sure, different topics. And yeah, for me, I have people that have taught me about business as a whole. Others have taught me about marketing. People taught me about life. So you can only imagine. Is there? Do you feel like you have the time to be able to mentor other people in terms of your organization, or is it just trying to give it in the moment and moving on?
I have learned from so many people, and so I take, I give, and it's when people ask me if I'll mentor them, I will only say yes if I'm going to learn from them too. It's a two-way street. Young people. So I think that I just, my best advice is, don't just have one mentor. People think they're going to have a mentor for life. What? One person doesn't have all the answers.
Sure.
Someone might be able to give you good advice on parenting at a certain age. Someone else will be able to give you great advice on finance. Someone, I think it's, I wrote something once about archetypes, and I did it on Jungian archetypes. And I compared media, when we were looking at multimedia, to the Jungian archetypes. And I said, it was like the TV was like your best friend, because, you can turn channels, and it would just, if you were in a bad mood, you could watch comedy, or, you could switch the channels. And the computer was like the wizard, because you could search for whatever you wanted. And I just compared it to different, archetypes. And that's the same thing like a mentor. You find different mentors for different kinds of wisdom, depending on what you need. That's a mentor.
Sage advice. Someone that with our IBM Watson partnership, we did a lot of Jungian archetypes, matching it to the personality insights, and that's a great way to think about it. There are these different people in your life you meet that give you different pieces of information that all have a certain place in your collective consciousness. So yes, for those listening, I'm sure that'll resonate really well with them.
Oh, and think about the mobile phone. When you had advertising, it better be relevant, because it has to be relevant information, value added, because you're not going to want it to be giving you not relevant stuff. It was how advertising needed to work, to make sure it was the right kind of information, useful information at the right time, the right place, anywhere you want it, or your mobile phone. That's how you have to think about your mentor. One mentor is not going to have everything you need.
100%. Right? No, it's extremely helpful. Well, I want to talk about the female quotient has been very intersectional, meaning the fight for gender equality across Black women, Asian women, Hispanic, Latinx women. It really is intersectional.
Today, and men have to be part of the solution.
Agreed, 100%. And today is Transgender Day of Visibility. How does the female quotient hold space for everyone, including men?
We say, all is welcome, because, gender equality is not a female issue, it's a social and economic issue. And, I think that is, we've got the biggest sign at the front of the door, all are welcome. It's the place where we all belong. And, we're not going to close the gaps if we are not all part of the conversation. And I think that is the most important piece of our growth. And, I remember once coming into one of our lounges when we first started, and, we have these pop-ups at industry conferences, and we are just a reflection of who's at the conference. It's called an equality lounge. At the beginning, we called them girls lounge, and to take on the boys club. And, the opposite of boy is girl, the opposite of club is lounge. If there's a boys club, Now there's a girls' lounge. At the beginning, a lot of women said, but we're not girls. We're women. And I said, well, first of all, a ladies' lounge sounds like a bathroom. A woman's lounge is boring. That sounds so boring. Who wants to go to a women's lounge? Ew. And I said, but third of all, have you ever heard of a man object to being a boy in a boys' club? Why are we creating our own double standard? And I called it a girls' lounge to begin with because I wanted women to support other women, because historically women did not support other women. Once we became 50,000 women strong with women supporting other women, where we all created our own network of women actually supporting other women, I said, now we bring everyone together, where women became the majority in our lounges and we were a real network of women. I said, now I'm comfortable bringing everyone together, and women own the mic. You know, we were visible, we were strong, we were powerful and confident. I brought us all together and we were the majority, and everyone else, we were the collective, you know, the collective minority was greater than the current majority. Men were allowed in, right? Perfect. Men started coming. And, you know, it was really quite a miraculous moment. We opened up the floodgates and the men came, and we were an intersectional group of, we were of course gender, women, but we were intersectional, race, religion, age, transgender, everything. And then the men came, you know, disability, everything. And then the men all came, and the men were the minority, and it was amazing. But all the men felt comfortable. And, you know, it was just quite remarkable. But when I first walked into the lounge, and there was a Black woman that came in at the beginning, peeked in and left. And I said, where are you going? And she said, well, there's no one like me in there. And I said, what do you mean there's no Black women in there? She said, yeah. I said, well, get your ass in there and change the color. I said, because we are only a reflection of the color at the conference. I said, so we have to fix this together. I said, we need to bring more women of color into this industry. And we're going to do that together. And now I have to say, there are more women of color in our lounge than white women in our lounge. And this is collectively, we have to do this. Now, we do also have conversations on panels with Black women, with Latina women, with transgender women, with transgender. We have all, because we still have to have separate conversations to talk about, the individual challenges, but we also have them together to make sure we are dealing with those challenges, to make sure we are all together and working together to create the solutions. So that happens.
I love that, and I love your reference of like the mirror, the reflection. Basically, that's what your organization is. I would just love, for those listening in terms of your organization itself, hiring for your staff and your talent. Do you have a process you take where you guys are looking at how do I find ways to whether implicit or actual biases to hire people? How do you look at trying to find ways to hire for obviously a burgeoning business you've built over the last 7 years?
Well, I hire for passion, train for skill. So I don't look at a resume. I don't care about a resume. I hire for street smarts, and I don't care about a resume. And I mean, I always say, unless you're hiring for a doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, that's, a whole different skill set you probably need. But for me, I hire for passion, train for skill. So, and I think most companies should really do that today, because I don't care about how many years experience you have or what school you went to or any of that. And I think the whole thing of the fact that women should change their name and pretend they're a man to get hired is horrible, because then it's like, oh, surprise, you thought you got a guy, but guess what? You got a woman. I think it's just creating a bias on the other side. So I'm totally against that concept. I don't think we should fake it and then show up and surprise people. So whoever says we should do that, I think is completely wrong. So I don't want to do that. But in our lounges, and I'm on the board of ColorCom, I just said we should have ColorCom Corner in our spaces, which we're going to start doing, to bring great talent in there and get the industry to, when we say there's no women of color to be hired, I'm like, are you kidding me? There's so much talent out there in the market. I don't know where people are looking, but we have so much access to HBCU schools, and there is the most incredible talent. So when people tell me there is no talent, or when people say there are no women to have on main stages, we have the best content. I mean, anyone that's been to our lounges, we have the best content in our lounges, the best speakers in our lounges, and even on main stages at the conference itself. Don't tell me there's no talent for main stage, because we get A++ ratings, and in our lounges of anybody. So you want speakers for main stages, call us or call Influential, because between us, we have the best talent. So
100%.
they are not looking. That's all I want to say.
Yes. Speaking of, I love the passion. Passion is key to get people to really get excited and really, hopefully over deliver beyond even maybe their existing resume. So when I think about passion and your lounges, I was unable to join them here in Miami now. My brother and I think 4 of our most talented people at our company came over to your Metaverse lounge. And I'd love for you to talk about how passion and Web3 maybe hits you as a person or even as your organization. It's obviously, it feels like it's new. It's been around for a few years, but really it's taken off in the last 6 to 12 months. How do you feel about Web3 and for your organization?
We're so excited about it. I mean, we just, we're going to be twinning. So we'll have, equality lounges in real life and, obviously in the metaverse, which is going to be so incredibly exciting. And we really just made the announcement, and obviously we had a big event here. Was it 2 days ago? It was over 200 people, and we had the #1 rapper in the metaverse, Latasha, and she was incredible, and the excitement was incredible. So we already have space in lands that's going to be like phenomenal. So we are so excited, and what's amazing about Web3 is women are there. So when you look at it, the presence of women in Web3 is remarkable. You didn't see that in Web2. So we already are ahead of the game. We're educating women right out of the gate and ensuring that women will be front and center in Web3, fully versed. We'll be writing the rules of the road ahead of time so that we make sure it will be safe, secure, and comfortable for women, so that we are going to be dominating in Web3. So female quotient will be fully present and engaging and leading the way for women in Web3.
I love that. People joke that it's the roaring 20s again. It's the greatest wealth generation potentially in our lifetimes. And Web3 and all of that is really a big part of it. Initially started with some of the blockchain for crypto. Now it's into NFTs. Now it's into the metaverse. Personally, have you bought an NFT yet? Are you in NFTs? Are you still kind of holding back?
I do. I've got my NFT World of Women. I just posted it, which is very exciting. We're doing so much with NFTs and women in NFTs and crypto and blockchain. And, it was amazing because we just had our big lounge at South by Southwest, and obviously pre-pandemic, no one was really going there. And our last South by Southwest, there was no presence of Web3. And all of a sudden, we had our big lounge there, and boom, everything was Web3. It was packed. And so, we are definitely there. The funny part was, I think 20 years ago when I pioneered research, I had little avatars in research 20 years ago. And I was, with Sims, and, no one really cared. And all of a sudden, such a
Yeah,
big deal.
it was,
I'm
it
kind of
was,
excited. I was kind of trending then, but no one knew it. No
yeah, you
one
were
cared.
first. You were the first.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, there
no
was
one cared
Sims, there
then.
was Second Life, which was a thing that happened for a while and just kind of before its time. I'm speaking tomorrow at the NFT Miami, so Miami's a very big.
Oh no, we're
crypto.
there. Yeah, I know.
Are you there? Great.
You're in Miami. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I made the move partially because of Web3, because I think it is the future, and yeah, it's gonna be a massive growth generation for from the Web2 of social. I mean, all of that's now extending, and actually, some of the things that we do, with our clients is we'll do, like you mentioned, avatars. My belief, and I hopefully shared among other people in this call, is that the idea of the metaverse really doesn't exist yet. It's interoperable worlds that will exist at some point in the future, in a more cohesive way. For right now, it's the avatars you build from an IP perspective, distribution perspective. So whether you have Lil Michaela is one of the biggest avatars that got bought by Dapper Labs, a young multicultural woman. It's a great way to look at how she can be a great fit for, whether it's Gucci or McDonald's, doesn't make a difference. Really, but also can be a great person for that. And that's what we're seeing, is that brands are saying, beyond just creators themselves, there's hundreds of these virtual creators that have tens of thousands to tens of millions of followers on TikTok, Instagram, etc. And that is, to me, the precursor to what eventually will be the Ready Player One version of the Web3, where we all have the glasses on and walk around the world. But what you're doing now is setting really the stage for the future, which is, I think, and tell me if you agree with this, do you think there's going to be Web3 will be a great promotion of gender equality?
100%. We just have to make sure, and Ryan, we're going to be having a big conversation about this, safety, security, and ensuring that, so we're going to talk about that. I mean, because that is the most important thing that we need to establish, and not just with the creativity and, the part of, women getting into it, but ensuring women in the business of Web3 as well. So that we can ensure that it feels safe and secure. So we got to talk about all that and how real, the avatars,
Sure.
are, and for identity and identity theft and all of that kind of stuff. So we'll talk about that. Do you have an avatar?
Well, I have like the Bitmoji stuff, but I've not created my Instagram version of me yet. That's it's coming though.
Because it looks so real.
Yeah, there are avatars where you have to take like 3 or 4 different looks at different videos and images. Oh, that's not actually a real person. Like it is wild. The Unreal Unreal engines are amazing. It really does feel as though we're living in like the simulation, as Elon calls it.
Well, I think that's what's so, incredible for the Web3 with the decentralization and, the elimination of the middle man, middle woman, middle man, whatever. It's just opening the floodgates for women, coming on in, and even the flexibility for the financial piece with the wallet of, women getting into the financial part with the time zones, not needing, with Wall Street, not even having the time zone piece, and being able to trade when they want, how they want, is also a great opportunity for women.
Updates coming. Yeah, everyone, updates coming. We'll have some more cool things. I'm sure you guys will write the rule sets that'll be, I think, change the industry. We're really excited.
Together, baby, together.
Let's do it. All right. So the equality lounges are legendary. Can you give us a sneak peek into what's coming? We'll be at Cannes. I'm gonna be at Cannes Ad Week. What's on their agenda? What are the big
I think we're coming to Formula One in Miami.
Oh my God! Yeah, come to my hometown. It's amazing. Yeah, it's gonna be huge.
We're coming. So we're in every equation. So from finance to sports, obviously, to World Economic Forum coming up as well, to Cannes. So we've got a lot of lounges. Go to our femalequotient.com. You'll see where the lounges are. Open for everyone. Everyone welcome. So can't wait to see you there, and partnering with Influential. So great partnership.
Thanks, Shelley. Well, we have about 5 minutes left, and I want to go some questions and kind of get some of your sage advice. I'd say, so there are a lot of women in different stages of their careers watching. What advice would you give to both the new professionals and to those that are near the top of their respective fields?
I think know your value, be yourself, which is the most important. You know, everyone tries to fit in, but don't fit in, stand out, because, you know, Oscar Wilde says, be yourself because everyone else is taken. And I so agree with that.
So you've inspired a lot of people today. How can we collectively, anyone listening, can get involved with the Female Quotient? And lastly, how can I support your work?
You know, first of all, I hate when we say male allies. So I think for me, it's about leadership allies. And because I don't care if you're a man or a woman, when we say male allies, it's giving men more power. So I think it really needs to be leadership allies. And that to me is the most important. So for everyone, stop saying male allies, call it leadership allies, so that it's not about gender. I think that is the most important. Lexicon matters. So I'd love to see us start that new language. Everyone can get involved, show up at lounges wherever we are, whether it's in the metaverse or in physical places. For women, it is your home in terms of finding, you know, if you feel alone, show up. It is free. There's no membership fees. It is where you will meet amazing people so that you never feel alone. The second you walk in, you will find someone that will go with you to any place you want to go. It's a love and hello, so don't worry about it. Panels, microphones, great place to get visibility and notability in 5 minutes flat. And so men, women, race, religion, anything, everyone will feel welcome in 1 second. Great food and drink, so that you will just probably, once you come, you won't leave. So that's how you get involved. Just find us. You'll find us at any big conference.
Amazing. I had the great pleasure of going to my first girls lounge event. I was at the New York Times at the time. I feel like it may have been like very early days, since you're saying it's 7 years old. And it was standing room only. Like, it was such a fantastic event. I'm not sure if it was tied to Ad Week, which may have been happening at the Times Center.
Yeah.
But there was something that was said at that event, that first event, that stuck with me. And I'm not sure who it was, but there was a woman who was a mother, and she was clearly a leader. And she said that you have to model how you want women to sort of show up at work. And like, you don't, even though I'm working constantly nonstop, if I'm a mother and that's what I show all of the women underneath me in my company, then they feel like motherhood looks this way, where you're working 24 hours a day. And so she said it was important for her to sort of show up as a full human being that had a balanced life, which gave permission for the other women in the company to then interpret motherhood in their own way. And that was years ago, and it stuck with me. And so my advice to the audience is, please check out a Girls Lounge event. It will change your life. It was fantastic to hear from you today.
Oh my God, thank you so much. They're now called equality lounges, very intentionally.
Yes.
As I said, we went from a girls lounge, which I started intentionally, and then went, and you know, it's really funny. When I started the girls lounge, I actually put hair and makeup in it, not because I cared about hair and makeup, but because I intentionally wanted women to show up as women and stop hiding their femininity.
Right.
Because, and women would say, how could you do that? It's embarrassing. I said, no, I want to stop pretending that we're not women. And by the way, more deals were done getting our hair done together. We would, and I put it in the middle of the room so that women would stop pretending we don't like to do that. And, you know, men would come in and I said, it's okay. This is what we do. Stop pretending we don't. We're power badass women. We still have more money. We're all top of our field. We're doing more business than what's happening at the conference, and stop apologizing. Right. And it's what you said. And I said, and stop sneaking out to go to your kid's soccer game. And once the first woman stops sneaking out, the rest would go.
Yes.
And you're not going to lose your job. What handbook says that what employee handbook says, don't go to your kid's soccer game? You're not going to lose your job. I promise you.
Yeah.
But we all thought we were going to lose our jobs. Yeah. No one's going to lose their job.
Yeah, COVID, I feel like was fantastic for that, for just allowing everyone to show up authentically, because for the first time we got to see what was inside people's homes. And someone today on the panel mentioned that their parents were doing laundry behind them. And so like their whole team got to see them with their parents. And that, I mean, I feel like we have this golden moment right now. We can't lose it. We have to keep the momentum going so that we can all show up fully.
You know, it's like I have a no regret policy. I always say, I never want to look back and say shoulda, woulda, coulda. And I tell everyone later in life, nobody at work will ever remember the meeting you missed or the trip you didn't take. But the important moments that you showed up, your kids will always remember the important things that you were at. And I said, I promise you. And I said, and remember that you got fired from that job or whatever. No one, it wasn't because of that meeting or whatever it was. And that's the things you have to hold on to. So don't miss the moments that matter. Those are the things that define you and your life and your family and all of those important things. That's what makes you who you are. Never forget that.
I love it. Thank you.
Yes.
That's
Sage advice.
yes, definitely a perfect point to end on. Thank you so much, Shelley. Thank you, Ryan. This was definitely a high point of the day.